Greetings, Ranchers. We're only a couple days away from the official kickoff, the summer solstice on June 21st. But if you're like me, you're already enjoying summer. So we began last week with Mindfulness with Marcia, thinking about how maybe we could use each day in the summer to be an opportunity to kindly ask ourselves and to reflect on this question. How is my desire for mindful living going? Have I even got started with an intention to be more mindful? And if I have, what could I do during this summertime to even grow more mindful? You see, to grow, we need to first beat that negativity bias. And we talked about that last week. If you didn't catch it, you might want to catch that one because it's really important to understand that our brain has this bias to look at things negatively rather than positively. And we want to grow more of that good inside ourselves. And there are some suggested steps we can do, and I'm making the suggestion, why not try for this summer? But I need to emphasize something here. I'm going to give you 2 steps, and your brain needs 2 steps. Unfortunately, this isn't one of those times where you get to pick and choose which step you like the best or which step you think you need the most work on. Because, see, your brain needs to experience both. And like any growth, both over time and with repetition, if we want to break free of that negativity bias and grasp onto that positive vibe. I'm suggesting for you to jump onto these summer months as a time to focus on these 2 steps. I know I'm going to be working on it, so I'd like you to join me. So let's get started. What are these 2 necessary steps, you might be asking me? Well, if you've been listening to Mindfulness with Marcia for any time at all, first of all, the good news is you've heard me mention them in a variety of different strategies in various ways. So it's nothing magical, nothing really new. And the practice is relatively simple, down to earth, and natural, kind of the way I would describe summertime. Kind of that kick back, down to earth, get out in nature, and make things simpler during the summer for all of us. So the first step is that you need to experience, I'm using that word specifically, whatever you want to grow. You can describe the desire as an intention. I use that word, and I tend to set intentions for myself, intentions for the day, intentions for summer. That just really works for me. Or it can just be an insight, something you've noticed about yourself. Or maybe you like to think of it as a skill you want to develop, like the skill of cooking. This would be the skill of more mindful living. Now, here's an example. Maybe you want to be more patient with your coworkers at the ranch. Or maybe it's something that you want to be not just doing emotionally, but a task kind of thing, like you want to go home after work and have a 10-minute pause once you arrive home before you get busy with family and the busyness of each evening. See, to experience these things, you add emotion to the thought, because emotion, as we know as educators, also drive memory, to lock onto things and to remember things. And we've talked about that limbic system and why emotion is so important in the brain. So if you desire more in your life, such as satisfaction, calm, ease, soothing, or maybe even more energy, if you can attach that to emotion of why do I really want this? What does it make me feel like when I have these things in my life? It'll be easier for your brain to grab onto it also. The part 2 of the 2 steps, the second step is that the experience that you have, to make it into a lasting physical trace behind in that neural structure or function of the brain. Otherwise, there's no lasting value, healing, growth, or even learning. Now, I know that sounds very sci-fi-ish, but if it is the way our brain's neurology works. It's really the way our brain holds on to negative and lets go of positive. we want to change that and be more positive in our living and let go of negativity, then we have to really look at how does the brain do that. And we'll do that next week, a little sneak peek for you to come back next week with Mindfulness with Marsha, when it will be officially summer too. Aha. So let's start with step one, because it's usually pretty easy. Most people every day have pleasant or unpleasant experiences, or maybe difficult and easy experiences. The fact that we have a lot of experiences isn't the case here. We all do. The fact is our brain tends to label them as good or bad, or fun or not fun, or pleasant or not pleasant. So it's not really about capturing those experiences. Here's what it is. It's noticing that you have them. It's not just going through your day. Remember, we talked about just going through kind of blanked out and not realizing that life is a number of experiences. So like with the examples I just used, if you want to be more patient with coworkers, then you could remember a time when you were patient. And how did that feel? Or better yet, catch yourself in the present moment. Try utilizing patience and call up that feeling immediately of how you're experiencing it and how it makes you feel to be more patient. Go home from work deliberately with the intention to take that 10-minute pause. And then afterwards, just a couple of minutes. How did it make you feel? Did the experience meet your expectation? Is this something you really want to add to your life? And so we can create these beneficial experiences, such as calling up the feelings of compassion or determination, remembering what it feels like. So this week, let's try the easy step, because remember, we have to do both. So this week, let's make it easy for ourselves. This week during the pause, give step one a try. I almost want to say do it, because you got to have both in order to get the growth that you want of getting rid of this negativity bias. Now remember, you're doing it because your brain needs both steps in order to grow in positive mindfulness. So until next week, do step one. And next week, we'll look at the sci-fi piece about how the brain really structures and functions and does these things for us as long as we give it a little prodding. Until next week, be well.